Trump has accomplished a great deal since he's been in power, but there's reason to feel that he failed. Now, Trump did not fail in an absolute sense. He certainly accomplished more than any other politician, yet by his own standards and what he hoped to accomplish, there is reason to say that he failed. The swamp still reeks of the foul odor of corruption and bigotry. The failure of Trump may have been relative, not having accomplished all that he had wanted, but is no less real. The failure that he experienced was predicated on poor analytics. Trump was and is first and foremost a business person. Despite his nationalism, Trump is firmly entrenched as an elite. Trump speaks populism, but it is a populism from the outside. Trump is for the US because, from a business perspective, at least to him, nationalism makes more sense than globalism. We need to be honest here. If Trump succeeds to get himself inaugurated and Biden trashed, it does not alter the fact. The populism of Trump only goes so far. If he has been good for the working person and the middle class, it is primarily because previous politicians have been universally dismissive about the people's needs and their rights. The swamp is more than the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. The elites are not just the 1%, or the swamp at least is not just the 1% earners. To fully understand the swamp, we must understand not just the sickness, we need to understand more than the symptoms. The swamp is the miasma of COVID-19. The air may be putrid and even infected, but it is what goes on in an infected cell that is important so far as the etiology of COVID-19 is concerned. A positive test isn't necessarily the disease. So as it stands, there's no easy way to identify the enemy. The swamp is as nefarious, elite, hidden in the bureaucracy and boardrooms of America, has proved difficult to identify, let alone isolate and eliminate. Trump's characterization of the swamp is flawed and analytically inadequate. There's a sharp line of demarcation between the right and the left. This is a biblical truth. The right and left, conservative and liberal, socialist and saint, are commensurate with sheep and goats. However, it is good to remember that there are wolves mixed in with the sheep. We must be cautious about where we draw the line. Secularism and the commercial arena, politics, may seem to make the distinction between swamp and the right difficult to discern. But the Bible makes the distinction between the two quite visible. We are told that faith, hope, and charity are good qualities, but the greatest of these is charity. The Good Samaritan has given us a role model for Christians to follow. We are also told that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. I think we can surmise from this that the Christian is to be a productive member of society. The worker is worthy of his wages. However, Christians are meant to be productive for a purpose, and that purpose is not so we can lord it over others. We don't get rich to be powerful, and we don't work to be lead hand. Those who will be chief among believers is the servant of all. And while it is common for the leaders of the Gentiles to lord it over their kind, it is not supposed to be the same with us. The mistake Trump and others have made is to associate this kind of authoritarian activity with an elite. But power and money are relative. There is an elite based on money and power, but there's no justification for attempting to demarcate a rich, powerful upper class from the commoner. The swamp is not just the rich, and the good are not just the common person. Trump, despite his money, is considered a populist and the enemy of the swamp. It is also less important that you, about what you have as how you got it and what you do with it. For this reason, the best way to characterize the swamp is the voter. It is, as we will see, the voter who is the key to understanding how the left usurp the rights of we the people. But to understand this, we need to realize we the people are not synonymous with the voter. The people are persons with natural rights. All persons have natural rights, but some have sold these for what the Bible calls a pottage. The expression is meant to convey someone who trades their legacy and rights for short term and illusory benefits. This was also documented in the story of the prodigal son. The Bible depicts the voter as a wolf in sheep's clothing. He comes into the flock not to build up the body of Christ, but to gorge on them. To get a clear picture of the swamp creature, imagine a parasite infecting a host. The people of God are charitable. Swamp creatures are avaricious. The Good Samaritan is an enduring picture of what a Christian is to be like. Christians are told to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. These depictions of what a Christian is does not suggest a person on welfare. These characterizations do not suggest a reliance on the state or its tax and redistribution functions. The swamp is not the media, the rich, the powerful, or some elite. The swamp are all those who engage in some degree of fraud. They are not honest. They do not give fair measure. The worker is worthy of his wages, but the voter is voting to control what he or she had no hand in producing. In the final analysis, if we do our investigation fairly, Trump is part of the swamp. This takes nothing away from what he has accomplished, but he is an insider fighting an internecine war. Yet, as a Christian, he received clear instructions from Christ himself. If you would be perfect, he said, go and sell all you have and give the proceeds to the poor, and come and follow him. But Christ requires us to be charitable, not a burden. We must do unto others, and we would have them do unto us. This is an injunction, a command to do, not to be done for or to. Yet it seems all of mankind's efforts at ecumenicalism revolve around designing some way for the elites to be voted for. This can only be done if the elites favor the voter in some way, and this can only happen if we the people are conspired against. The productive think they're getting a fair deal in an election. Everyone does get to vote, even if we have 10 sheep and 2 wolves voting to elect an owl to govern them. No one wants to eat a wolf when a sheep is available. An election in which many of those who vote have nothing to bring to the table. This will never work out to benefit the people. If we think of the people as the ones who produce the equity, if we think of things in this way, perhaps it is fair to say Trump did not fail. He accomplished much or most of what he sought to accomplish, and he will have another chance to complete what he wants to complete. It is the sheep that failed, because once more we voted to choose the latest chef. Universal suffrage will never work to benefit those who by default are expected to pick up the check. those who want someone else to pick up the check, who do not pay their fair share, are the swamp. Democracy, as it is construed with universal suffrage, cannot defeat those who bring nothing to the table.